How's it going, everybody? I'm Jason, sitting here with my buddy Brandon.
Hello.
And tonight we had a drunken intaking of Chillerama.
I would say so.
I'm pretty buzzing.
I am as well.
We're doing it Wasteland style tonight. You've never been to Cinema Wasteland, and well, you wouldn't understand. But yeah, we're pounding the beers to say the least. Watching the Chillerama. This was one of the more over-the-top movies I've seen in quite some time. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. I haven't seen anything like this in a while since Underground Movie.
Yeah, it's basically the movie. It starts out like it's at a drive-in that is closing down. It's the last night of this drive-in, and seeing all these people in the drive-in and shit, and then I guess from there it basically goes into the first movie, which is called Wadzilla by Adam Rifkin. And you know, that movie, it really sets the bar high for the rest of them.
It did.
I mean, it's about a guy who he has abnormal sperm, and he's given this medicine, and it creates like this sperm monster, and it attacks this city, and it ends up, what's he ends up doing? Screwing the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah. Dry humping.
Yeah, and the Statue of Liberty like
turns into a stripper, go-go dancer.
Takes off her fucking robe and starts dancing and shit. I'm not making this shit up. I swear to God, it's in this movie. It's fucking crazy.
No, you have to watch it for yourself. It is unbelievable by storytelling. You do have to see it yourself.
And it has Eric Roberts in it and Lynn Shay, which many of you may remember Lynn Shay from Insidious as the psychic. And what else?
There's something about Mary.
Yeah, there's something about Mary. And wasn't she also... wasn't she the fucking woman in Kingpin? You remember that shit?
She was.
Yeah,
she was.
and she's in it, and I mean, you just got to see it to believe it. Like, it really sets the bar high, and they use like a bunch of old school effects and shit. And
yeah, there's a lot of grain and small strings that you would see from the 20th Century Fox film, and then also the like there's darkness in all the right areas.
Yeah,
like it was actually done on film, which is it's a unique texture to add to something this current.
Yeah.
So it does add a lot to the essence of the old grindhouse films.
And it does have like it purposely looks like it's screwed up and shit, like it's an old film, and the colors are overly saturated and shit like that.
Not as bad as what you would see in maybe Planet Terror, where it was intentionally put in for the effect.
That's way more.
This, I think, paid more homage to like how those movies looked in the drive-in, just to create that whole feel of sitting in your car, spilling your popcorn, and staring through the windshield, listening to the speaker that would somehow scratch the shit out of your window.
Yeah.
But we have to listen, so it was worth it. So I think that really did add to the whole essence of the movie.
I thought it was an excellent start to the movie myself. What do you think?
I liked it. I mean, at the very beginning, if you're going to add something that's over the top, while we're watching, you had mentioned that it set the bar kind of high, but in all honesty, it did. It's like, well, this whole story played out. The rest of them have to be as good, or it just won't work.
And that kind of leads us into the next one, which was called I Was a Teenage Werebear by Tim Sullivan. Now, what was your impressions of this one?
I think that it was just a little bit too outlandish to follow. You know, it's well, here's a funny part. Haha, this is good. Let's move on. What else can we get into to continue the story? And it seemed like here's the build up. This is the punchline, and then there's a drop off, like too far down to carry on the story.
Yeah, like started off kind of high, and I mean it pretty much immediately breaks into being a musical. Yeah, like a gay Grease.
Even West Side Story.
Yeah,
you know,
and the gay factor is taken so high, it's just like, oh my god. But even then, I mean, it's not even that. It's just I wasn't nearly as interested in this one as I was the first one, the Wadzilla. It's like, I mean, like they set the bar so high with Wadzilla, and then you go into this, it's kind of like I felt myself kind of drifting off in this one, and I think all of us did. Like we were all like starting to talk and starting to wander off into other things. Like I don't know, this one wasn't up there with Wadzilla. I didn't think. Like it's cool, but like, you know, the whole the 50s, the doo-wop thing. I don't know. I just didn't. I personally didn't get it as much. Like I didn't think it flowed nearly as well, and it was just, I don't know. But, you know, like I said, in between each of these, you jump back to the drive-in scene that you see at the beginning. Like, you're seeing these same characters that were shown at the beginning. Like, they're at the drive-in, they're watching these movies, and all along, like, one of the people that works at the drive-in has something wrong with him. Like, he's
got something wrong with him.
He's got this fluorescent shit coming out of him. He's infected with something, and it's like a building story in between all of these movies. And after the Teenage Werebear, and it goes back to the drive-in, then we jump into the diary of Anne Frankenstein by Adam Green. None other than Adam Green himself that did Hatchet 2, Frozen. And so what do you think of Diary of Anne Frankenstein?
I thought it was a good spin.
Yeah.
You know, World War II, Nazi Germany, and then there's the whole like comedic end on creating this Frankenstein type character that Hitler puts together with Eva Braun. Yeah. And then he ultimately tries to create something to eradicate the Jews in a comedic way, and so he creates this Nazi killer, which bears a talent, a very big nose, stereotypical of Jewish folk.
Yeah.
And a yarmulke. And it's a very odd take, but it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek view on, you know, how everything fell apart, and now you've got this Jewish Frankenstein that's going to turn Meshuggah,
played by Kane Hodder, nonetheless.
I don't know how it was that he got involved in that, but we now know that he has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
A very broad sense of
humor.
And
it was cool because, you know, they made the Nazis like complete dumbasses in this. But it was like, it was awesome how they did it. Like, it was hilarious. You know, like I like how they show that whole first Nazi general, like everybody coming through this like hole in the wall and shit. Like, he didn't even know how to get through it, and it was just, it was funny as shit because he like had to turn around and come through it backwards and shit because he didn't know how to do it.
That's reminiscent of like a Benny Hill era type sketch.
So what do you think? Should we take a shot of Crown?
Might as well.
In the kitty cup?
Oh, and to mention Crown Royal and its relation to our interest in music, the tragic falling of Dimebag Darrell had taken place on December 8th, which is a couple of days from now.
Yeah, exactly.
And also Corey Taylor's birthday from Slipknot, so this is for them.
Cheers. Get your pull. Whew, that was a fucking double shot right there.
Oh, giggity.
Killing the Crown. Woo! So yeah, the Diary of Frankenstein, I thought it was really cool. And this one was all in black and white, and I did hear that this was originally supposed to be the first entry that you see going into this movie, but they didn't want to do it because they didn't want to put this one first because they didn't want people to think that the whole thing was going to be black and white and be a turnoff for people. Because unfortunately, a lot of people just don't want to watch black and white movies nowadays, which I can understand it, but I just think it's unfortunate because there's a lot of good cinema that's missed if you
and it had subtitles.
Automatically turn yourself off to that. And yes, it did have subtitles too. And it was kind of funny because we both caught it at the same time. Like there's a part where, you know, they're speaking in German and all of a sudden the guy says "Osh gosh bagosh." And unless you're really watching it, you're not gonna catch it, but we both caught it at the same time. He said it first, I'm fucking cracking up. But it's like, you know, he's saying all this German stuff and all of a sudden in the middle of it he's like "Osh gosh bagosh" and shit, and it's like, it's just, you gotta see it, it's fucking great. And then I thought it was pretty genius how they did this last movie. They introduced it as, what was it called? Defecation. And it's like going into like the fourth movie. Well, right as soon as it enters this fourth movie, you only see like a minute of it at most, and then it jumps back to the drive-in and becomes its own entry into the movie at the drive-in, which, you know, you've been seeing in between all these films all through it. And it's not given a title, but it's called Zom-b-Movie by Joe Lynch is what it ends up being. And it's a pretty cool ending to the film, I thought, like how, you know, you see little pieces of it all in between everything else, but at the end you're seeing the culmination of this guy that's working at the drive-in who has this fluorescent blue shit coming out of him, and then it ends up just taking over the whole fucking drive-in. I thought it was pretty ingenious ending to it myself. What do you think of it?
I thought it was good. Only at the very beginning you have the introduction of the film. You know, it starts out with, you know, the opening, and then you lead to him going to work, revealing that he works at the drive-in, and then there's the shot to the conversation in the cars that he's passing by. So the first story plays out. You wonder, well, what's going on at the drive-in? So then it suddenly makes sense in the breakdown in between when the real operator is announcing the next film. There's a little bit of conversation interaction between those characters, and then
his announcements for the movie are really awesome. It's like really over the top, over the PA and everything.
And they're smart assy too. Which I like. He's like, well, here's the next fucking movie. You know, like he really dreads playing this. But another part of that is that the next day the drive-in is for sale. So he goes back to looking at a picture of what we believe is his wife, which either is alive or is not, or is no longer with her, but he's sad and he's brandishing this pistol throughout. And the next time that you see him, you're wondering, well, what's going to happen next? Is he still going to be sad? No, he's getting dry humped by the guy that you see at the very beginning that is now oozing all this blue shit. And you have to see it to know what this blue shit is and to where it came from. Is very funny for an introduction to this story and how it became to breaking down to this creep show type movie. It's very weird, but
it's a good anthology.
Definitely.
I mean, a good. You know, I mean, I think if you look at like modern anthologies, like it's really hard, in my opinion, to top Trick or Treat. You know, because Trick or Treat is so innerly woven, like all the stories. Like these were, you know, it had that central story of like the drive-in, but like each movie was its own separate entity. Where you know, like Trick or Treat was all interwoven. You know, but this is really good though too. I mean, I thought that this was. It's like it's definitely like a tribute to like drive-in cinema, which isn't around anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's like putting all of that into one film, and then also, you know, you got like the 50 B monster movies. You have like exploitation type films. I mean, you know, 80s fun type films all in one. You know, that's why I thought that it really succeeded at doing that. You know, and it really falls in line with like Grindhouse, you know, and Machete, Hobo with a Shotgun, like those throwbacks to like the exploitation films, which I personally I don't mind that. I think they're fun. I enjoy them. This was just a fun ass movie to me, I thought.
Well, you have to be very, very careful with not even today's audience, but the way that filmmakers, I think, approach paying tribute to that era.
Yeah.
You know, you paid your 50 cents, you convinced your children and other relatives to hide in the trunk so you wouldn't pay the extra money.
And I've done
that. We all have. I've spent many a time next to the spare tire.
I had a Citation hatchback that I snuck two friends into the back. I'm driving into this fucking drive-in by myself. Or like, oh, you coming in by yourself? Yeah, I'm meeting friends here. Had two friends in the fucking hatch of my Citation.
And that's a small car.
Yeah. 81 Citation, two friends in the hatch like this. But yeah, I mean, I've done that. But a lot of kids nowadays just haven't experienced, you know, even drive-ins. You know, the VHS mom and pop shops. You know, I mean, that's why stuff like this is awesome, because, you know, it's kind of like a time capsule of things like that. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think.
Well, that's the key to being, you know, successful with that is, I guess, getting to the point with what it is that you're putting out, because not a lot from the generations of now know of cramming in the back of that car.
Yeah.
Nor seeing the...
It's all about the multiplexes and, you know, and everything, you know. And
now it's
digital
$8.
Downloads and all that. I mean, it's
easy.
It's a different era that's changed in our lifetime, you know.
Oh, definitely. And it didn't take too long to get that far. Or maybe actually close that gap of creating such a different realm in that area, because you would freeze your ass off having that speaker on the window. You know, you'd have to share that popcorn that would get
leaving
cold.
your fucking window rolled down to have it sit right there in your window.
Well, yeah, and if you were in the back,
it was either that or you're having it come in through your AM stereo and it still crackled and sound like shit.
Yeah,
but it was awesome.
There's rusty wires going on.
Yeah,
I saw Ferris Bueller's Day Off when it came out at the theater, and a house blew up across the field. You know, so smoke's billowing over the screen and through the parking lot. People are
extra
leaving.
Added effects.
Well, yeah, and we stay there to watch the entire film. You know, I mean, to me, that's nostalgic, and it's sad that there's only so many drive-in theaters, and very rarely, I really don't think that there's any that actually play film anymore. Yeah, unless it's something that's so old that the format is no longer carried over to something current. You know?
And you know, everything changes, but you know, like I said, that's why I think something like this is great, because it's like a time capsule that captures something like that. You know, I mean, film's only been around like 100 years, and everything always changes. So of course it's going to change, but I like how this is like capturing a time that's came and went. You know what I mean? I think it's nothing but a good thing. I don't see how anybody could think that something like this is... I'm not saying not like the film, but like, you know, the whole time capsule type thing, like capturing that drive-in feel, you know, and like how it's like a drive-in closing down, because drive-ins that are around nowadays, they're rare. Like you said, you know, they're few and far between.
I think there's 3 in Illinois.
Yeah.
And probably 2 of them are digital.
Yeah.
You know, they just have a screen, a very big projection screen, and someone throws in a DVD. You know, 16 millimeter is a very, very, very dead format.
Yeah.
You would probably...
It's unfortunate, but, you know, it's true. I mean,
yeah,
it is what it is, you know. I mean, like I said, everything changes. You move on and you evolve with it, you know.
Well, if we're the last generation to have it,
Yeah.
We're the last ones to be able to embrace such a thing.
So, out of a 1 to 10 scale, what would you give Chillerama? Like, as a whole, what would you give this film?
As a whole, I would think probably a 7.
7?
Only because once you go through the entire thing, you then get the idea in which they wanted to present it.
Yeah.
You know, you go through the first story, you say, "Oh, that's funny. This is cool."
Yeah.
What goes on next? You have the intermission between the next, the next story, and you wonder, well, what's this going to be about? Is this going to be equally as funny? Am I going to be let down? You know, will it live up to it?
Yeah.
And then you finally get to the end, and you think, wow, the story was put together. They put in more effort, I guess, into the leading up to, from the very beginning of presenting the guy walking through the drive-through.
Yeah.
You know, the drive-in through all the cars to actually being the main focus of the movie.
Yeah.
And
really
that to me did it justice.
Yeah.
You know, it's, well, this is the intermission. This is what we're going to see, what the people in the cars see.
Yeah.
So that it lent a different perspective to the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was overall impressed with the creativity in which they put forth in putting it together.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, at 7, I mean, it's a fucking 7.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, that's good. You know, 1 out of 10, I think that's really good. Now, I personally, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 because I this was just a super fun movie to me, and you know, just the whole thing just encompassed was just, it was great. It was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and it was just a fun movie to me all the way around. You know, I think all 4 stories, you know, like I said, the Werebear was kind of lacking, you know, whatever, but just the whole package in and of itself was great, you know. And this is the type of movie that I'll definitely go back and watch again. You know, I want to see it on my own, no distractions, and I think it will even get better. You know what I mean? Like, I think that this is, upon multiple viewings, you'll appreciate it even more. That's how I feel about it.
I think it could to a point, but I mean, there's 4 stories. There's 4 different main ideas.
Yeah.
But that will then create, I believe, an echelon.
Yeah.
One will be the absolute funniest, and then you work your way down. And I think with that 50s doo-wop and that Funicello, Frankie Avalon era type, it was a little bit too outlandish to believe is funny enough to believe. I think that they projected too many current elements to not make that believable.
Yeah, and something about like shaving your balls or something
well,
is what causes the werewolf. And just
it just seems like
it was fucking crazy.
Well, they put it together to put it together, and not so much as to really lend much to the rest of it. You know, it's like, well, shit.
Yeah.
We need to think of something. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Can you think of something in 20 minutes? All right, we're filming.
And yeah,
you know.
And see, I thought the most ingenious thing was how it went into that last story, and then all of a sudden it reverts back to the drive-in, and the drive-in ends up being the last story. I thought that was pretty ingenious how they did that. You think it's going to go into this last story, and then all of a sudden it goes back to showing these characters you've been seeing in between all these movies, and they are the focus of this last story, really. You know.
Well, they put a relationship aspect in there, I guess, because of you have the guy in the back seat that's you think at the very beginning is like a third wheel.
Yeah.
You know. And then there's a conversation about the guy in the driver's seat talking to this girl. You gonna go talk to her? You gonna go talk to her?
Yeah.
But then there's the girl in the passenger seat with the stocking cap on. Now she seems like the third wheel. You know, and at the very end you see the interaction between them, and it's different. And then, there's the brother, the older brother, that wants to be a prick, because usually that's what you find.
Yeah.
And you have to watch it. But there's an interesting thing that goes down with him and popcorn. And it's very weird, because the girlfriend says, "Well, are you paying attention to me, or are you gonna eat your fucking popcorn?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, I'm doing both." And I mean, to me, that's funny because you can adapt that to any situation,
Yeah.
But it did play a role within that whole idea that it was leading up to something.
Yeah.
Because they lended a lot of focus to the interaction of those characters. Why during, so to speak, the intermission between these acts?
Yeah. And it builds each time. Like you see a little bit of them, then you see this own unique movie, and then a little bit more of them, then its own movie, and then a little bit more of them, and then then it becomes its own movie in and of itself at the end, which was pretty cool. It was cool how it turned out. So, but yeah, guys, I guess that's pretty much it. You think?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it for Chillerama. Highly recommend checking it out. Sorry, drinking quite a bit. It is on DVD, Blu-ray, and you can also watch this on Netflix Instant right now. So give it a shot, guys. If you like this type of film, if it sounds interesting to you, check it out. Let us know what you think of it. We appreciate you watching. I'm Jason. This is Brandon. Take it easy, guys. Later.